Hello, everyone. Federal employees, we are now facing a crisis. Reduction in force notices, hiring freezes, budget cuts, emails needing constant updates of what you've been working on for the past week from Doge. The workforce that we once thought was secure is being dismantled before our very eyes. So if you're a federal employee and you're watching this right now, this is your wake-up call. I've been where you are, and I am where you are right now because I also am a federal employee amongst multiple other things. So I know what it's like, not just because I'm going through it now, but I've been through it before in the private sector several times. I know what it's like to rely on a single paycheck and to feel like the ground is shifting beneath you. But here's the truth. Your job is not your security. It's your skills that are. Let me tell you guys about a lesson that I learned quite some time ago, back in 2008, after nearly a decade of earning six figures in the mortgage industry. The financial crisis hit. I'm sure this sounds extremely familiar to everyone watching this video. I sent out hundreds of resumes. I attended networking events. I even landed interviews, but the job market had completely turned against us, much like what we're starting to see now with the visceral that's now starting to develop and be projected towards us, federal employees. I even had one interviewer tell me that she said, "You have all the skills we need, but you've made six figures for so long. We can't match your salary. So, because we're afraid you'll probably quit." Now, keep in mind, I had been at my previous employer in the banking industry for almost 8 years. But this lady tells me that she had this unfounded fear that I was the type of person that was just going to come in there and quit within a couple of months. Another one flat out told me that she wouldn't hire me because her mortgage company was with my former bank that I worked for. It was truly heartbreaking. I had another incident where I was on my way to an interview. I was still living in California at the time, and I was about 20-30 minutes in, and they called me just to tell me that they had canceled the interviews and that they would get back to me at a later time to reschedule. Of course, they never did. It was truly a rough time. The industry blamed people like me for what Wall Street and politicians had done. I had no choice, I felt at the time, but to pack up everything that we owned and relocate myself and my two young daughters at the time to Las Vegas. I ended up moving in with my parents into a condo that I had bought for them just 5 years earlier. Talk about the irony of that, right? I knew waiting for a job offer wasn't an option for me. So I took everything I knew about marketing and branding that I had learned in my previous career in mortgage banking, and I created my own opportunity. I designed my own business cards. I built a brag book, which was a collection of my clients' testimonials, awards, and other accolades that I had received. I crafted a brand statement that positioned me as the best candidate. And then I pounded the pavement. I went to any business that would allow a face-to-face communication with the decision maker. I knew as long as I could get face-to-face with someone, then I could bypass the gatekeeper. And guess what? It actually worked. An air conditioning and heating company created a marketing assistant position just for me. It wasn't glamorous, but I used it as a stepping stone. And by the way, the pay sucked. But I managed after 2 years, or within 2 years, I should say, to negotiate a 43% pay raise. And I found out that they had a tuition reimbursement program. So I utilized that. And while I was there, I earned my master's degree in public administration. That degree helped open doors for me and allowed me to transition into the public sector because I thought I really wanted to help people. And so, but my journey it didn't really stop there, because I went from working in the private sector to becoming a full-time entrepreneur. And I tried a lot of different things. Eventually, I found my way back to the private sector and then to the public sector as a welfare Medicaid case manager, where I handled over 800 long-term care cases, Medicaid cases regularly. And then eventually I learned about the Department of Business and Industry, where I was able to once again help my fellow obtain homeowners. That was a very rewarding time. I ended up being able to help over 10,000 Nevada families realize their dream of homeownership. And eventually that entrepreneurship bug, it never quite left me. And so it flared up again. During that time, I obtained my life insurance license, my adjuster's insurance license. So I was able to go to Florida and help during their time of disaster. I also did a few other things with, when crypto started becoming a thing. I learned about that. I got into a little bit into Forex. But eventually I had this longing, because I always liked to teach. I had been a certified real estate instructor for a while. And so I thought I could really give back if I, taught kids. Boy, that was an experience. I would say out of all the different jobs that I've had, and even entrepreneurial adventures, being a junior high school math teacher was by far the most challenging and the most difficult. But eventually the public sector called me once again. A family member who's been a long time federal employee since we were teenagers. She's now got over 35 years in. Because she knew my background in mortgage banking and finance, she called me up and she said, there's a great opportunity with rural development, USC, dealing with lending. Not sure what it is, because she's in HR. She said, but I think that you would be the perfect fit for it. And I said, okay, sign me up. And she said, but there's only one thing. The position is in Louisiana. And I was living in Las Vegas by this point at the time. And I said, I don't even care. I'm ready for a change. And our family is from Louisiana, actually, on my mother's side. So I was very familiar with Louisiana. I'd been down here many times as a child growing up and visiting my grandmother and other family members. So I relocated to Louisiana with just my tentative offer letter. I didn't think that was such a big deal, because I felt pretty confident that I would have no problem with passing my background check or anything like that. I mean, heck, I had a teaching license. So I figured if I was trusted around kids, certainly, I would be trusted to work for the federal government. But I didn't find out that was a big deal until I actually got here, was onboarded into the system, and then got to know some of my coworkers, and they told me that, that they would never have, that was a huge risk. And but I guess that's just it's in my bones. It's in my blood. I've always been a risk taker to a certain degree, a calculated one, I should say. And so here I am today, community programs, loans and grant specialist. I work on commercial projects. I work with towns and mayors and nonprofits. I help with funding for charter schools, hospitals, police cars, fire trucks, other community facilities, water systems, sewer systems. These projects, they tend to take a long time because there are a lot of regulations and requirements and rules that has to be abided by, such as things dealing with the Environmental Protection Agency, or abiding by whatever administration put in place in terms of, for instance, every project has to have American steel. Steel, if there's any steel that's going to be used, it has to be steel from an American company, for instance. So there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of different stakeholders involved, from mayors to engineers to architects to various contractors. So the projects can take a number of years from a concept to actually breaking ground into completion of construction. So they're multi-million-dollar projects that I work on. And I still have that entrepreneurial spirit. So I also have several, my husband and I, offline businesses. And I do all of that in addition to my federal service, running an Airbnb. We breed dogs. We have a trucking business. And then, of course, I'm also building my West Coast Media solution. Now, I'm telling you, and I do taxes too, by the way. Why am I telling you guys all of this? I'm not telling you guys all of this to brag or anything like that. I'm telling you all of this to press upon you that you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket. And this is how having multiple streams of income is how you're going to protect yourself from these job cuts that is upon us, and the layoffs and the reduction in force and the forced resignations and the forced retirement. The only way that you can insulate yourself from what appears to be the inevitable is by creating other ways to earn a living. And I learned this over 20 years ago, 30 years ago. About 30 years ago, when my second professional job that I had as a credit manager, the company, they didn't pay that super great, but their benefits were excellent. We got 12% on our money market savings account. They matched our 401k dollar for dollar up to, I think it was 8% or something like that. It was really, really good. People worked there, started there right out of college on a modest salary of $25,000, $30,000 a year with the customer service agents. And they stayed there and was loyal for 30 plus years. And because they lived below their means and they saved beyond the match, they took advantage of all the different financial programs that company offered. There was people there at that company that I used to work for many years ago that literally were able to retire millionaire. And I watched that company force those individuals out the door after they had merged with the bigger, long-time loyal employees. They forced them out. My manager at the time, they put him on probation. He ended up leaving. My district manager, they demoted him and made him my branch manager. So when I saw that, I realized that corporate America was not loyal and that I always needed to keep my resume updated, and I always needed to keep my eyes and my ears open for other opportunities and to grow my skills and learn new skills. So that's what I've always continued to do over the years, no matter where I've landed at in terms of employment. I've always had something outside of that was bringing me in some type of income. Now the new term for it is a side hustle, right? But you don't have to wait. Here's the good news. This is you don't have to wait for a disaster to strike before you start building multiple streams of income. And if you think, well, I don't know how to do anything else, or I've been at, my job in federal service for, several decades. This is all I know. I can show you, if you're willing to learn and you have an open mind and you're willing to invest in yourself, I can show you just how valuable the skills that you have acquired over all these years, how you can apply those skills in other ways. Okay, so like, let's say for instance, you're a public affairs specialist. You can help small businesses with branding and social media. Or if you're a loan specialist, you can consult on securing business financing, right? If you're an HR specialist, you can teach people how to land jobs, whether they're government jobs. Right now, federal is on a freeze, but it's not going to always be on a freeze, right? But if you're an HR specialist, you can easily teach people how to land a job in the private sector. It's not that much different, okay? You can teach them and train them on how to position their resume that will help them at least land an interview, right? If you are a program manager or a management and program analyst, you can offer strategic planning services to nonprofits and entrepreneurs. The federal government may not need your skills forever or until you are ready for retirement, but I rest assured the marketplace always will. And so because of that is why I'm putting together a step-by-step program just for federal employees. Although if you're not a federal employee, but you work for your state government or your local government, or maybe you work in the private sector, that's fine. But the strategies and the steps that I teach, they can be applicable to anyone who is a 9-to-5 or a W-2 person. And I will show you how you can monetize what you already know. I know it's been ingrained in our heads, a lot of us, that we've got to get more degrees, right? I got 2 of them up here, or that we need more certification. You don't. You already know enough. You've got enough experience in your head already that you can teach someone else. There are tons of people out there that are clamoring at the bit to learn from you. Okay, you just need someone to show you a roadmap so that you don't spin your wheels and waste a lot of time. Take advantage of the fact that I've already done that. I've already spent over 25 years learning through trial and error sometimes, and other times through actual formal training, mentoring, coaching that I've sought out on my own, or books and CDs and videos and webinars and whatnot that I've sought out on my own as well. I'm going to condense all of that down and basically give you the Cliff Notes version. Okay. So right now I am opening up a small beta test group before I officially launch this program. And I'm looking for 10 federal employees who want real financial security and not just a government paycheck. If that's you, DM me, or if you're watching this on LinkedIn, send me a message and let me know that you want to be a part of the beta test group. And then I will send you the link. And also, I want you to send me your resume. I want to do, I'll give you a free audit on your resume. And also it'll give me a better idea of what your background is. And you can include in the DM or in the message with some hobbies that you have, things that you really enjoy doing. Like if you're really good at gardening or you're really good at crocheting. I have a little nephew. He's about 11 years old, 12 years old. I think he just turned 12 the other day. He's very, very good at crocheting and knitting. So maybe that's you. Maybe you have a hobby or a skill like that. But if, like I said, if you're serious, I only want serious people because this is serious business. If you are serious and you don't want to play the wait and see game, I've had a couple of colleagues tell me, well, they're just kind of waiting and seeing. And I've never been the type of person that wait and see. I can see already, the writing is already on the wall. People have already started to lose their jobs. And, the reduction in forces are coming. And yes, I understand that traditionally, the federal government, when they said reduction in force, it didn't mean termination. It just meant that you might have to take a job, a lower pay grade, or a different position, or maybe it would be part-time or term, only for a certain amount of years. But now they're saying reduction in force, meaning termination. No longer, you will not be placed somewhere else. You will be unemployed. So let's not wait until we start getting RIF notices before we start implementing our plan B, okay? You can do it. It's possible. I know you might feel overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, feel like I just don't have enough time. You can do it. If I can do it, and there's nothing all that special about me, if I can do it, you can do it too. You can do it even if you have small children. I did a lot of different things even when my kids were small. They're grown now, but even when they were young, I had side hustles. So kids are no excuse, actually they should be your motivator. But I want to encourage you guys that all is not lost, that you do have knowledge, skills, and abilities that can transfer over into the private sector very easily. And you might not know it because you've been doing what you've been doing for so long, so it just comes as second nature. And you've forgotten what it felt like on your first day. And it would seem like it was just so much stuff to learn, right? So you are valuable, you are knowledgeable, and what you know is needed. Maybe it may not be no longer needed or appreciated for federal service, but trust me, there is a whole world out there who's looking for your talents, gifts, and knowledge. So DM me. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, because the best time to start something new was yesterday. The next best time is right now. Let me help you build something bigger than just your paycheck. Let me help you build financial freedom and financial security. Don't wait. We've got till Friday, and we might all be getting furloughed anyway. So let's get started. I'll see you soon.